Hello everyone! Welcome to the second part of the Ignore Your Partner Until They Say Love You challenge. We are getting into the more angsty part, and I have a feeling you will kill me for one of those entries. So, let's take a look, shall we? As always, special thanks to my lovely patrons and all of you who subscribe and watch these videos. You're keeping this channel alive and going. Thank you very much, and I hope you will enjoy. Of course Atsumu would come up with something like this. What did he even expect? Nothing good ever came out of challenges him or Oikawa thought of. With a deep, defeated sigh, Kunimi sped up a bit to be home as soon as possible to finally rest after a whole afternoon of getting drained of all his energy. He was glad the case was slowly getting to a closure, but he would prefer if it didn't mean being interviewed by their HR and boss for hours to no end, and the never-ending flow of questions from his co-workers. At least they care enough to actually investigate properly. You should be thankful. And he was, but it was difficult sometimes. The moment he opened the door, he was welcomed by a nice scent of baked meat and freshly cooked rice, telling him Kindaichi was already in full swing again. Under normal circumstances, he would be ecstatic, though a bit worried considering Kindaichi's legs started to act up again since the whole endeavor in the bank. Now, however, just get this over with. He says love you a lot, so it might go pretty fast. His hope was squashed the moment he heard Kindaichi call a rather enthusiastic greeting at him. "Aki, come here, this is awesome." With his heart aching, he walked around the kitchen as fast as he could to not see the surely confused look on Kindaichi's face and settled on the couch instead. "Aki?" He ignored the irregular footsteps as best as he could, guilty for making Kindaichi walk around when he was still clearly in pain. At least he could keep the distance somewhat short. "Did something happen? You said you were going to the HR, right? Was it bad news? They aren't holding what I did against you, right?" His growing unrest was almost palpable, and Kunimi mentally cursed himself for ever going along with the challenge. Not only he ruined Kindaichi's good mood, he was making him worry now too. And for what? He was just about to say screw it and turn around, when a large hand gently squeezed his shoulder. "Okay, you don't have to talk about it now. But when you are ready, I'm here for you, okay? Even if you need to yell at someone to let it out, I'll listen. Just remember that I love you, okay? No matter what." Quickly blinking away the mist entering his eyes, Kunimi grabbed Kindaichi's hand before he could walk away, careful only not to make him stagger when he wrapped himself around him. "Love you too." He hid his face in Kindaichi's chest, light shivers running down his back when Kindaichi smiled and hugged him back. "That's good to know. Do you want to talk about it? You don't have to, I understand." "No, it's fine. I was a bit out of it after today, but it's fine. No bad news." "That's a relief. I was worried they would give you a hard time because of me." "Not at all. Hiroto even said he admires you for going ahead with a plan like this because of me." He snuggled deep into Kindaichi's arms, the steady beating of his beloved's heart settling down his nerves, ruffled by both the challenge and the constant explaining at work. Thankfully, Kindaichi seemed to accept his excuse, meaning at least one situation wouldn't have to be explained. And it didn't cause any damage, which was even more important. Sorry I ignored you before. What did you want to show me? Oh, right. You know how we said we should finally go on a vacation? I found a great place. Super cheap and has great views too. It's far enough from civilization to be quiet, but not far enough to leave us stranded if something happened. And it has a hot tub and giant bed too. Kunimi had to smile, Kindaichi's enthusiasm infecting him too. Sounds nice. Show me now? Sure, come on. If there was something that could easily cause irreparable damage to the relationship, it was going along with the challenge as it was given. Aone knew that more than well. Considering everything that happened in the last year or so, he was absolutely sure Kenji would take his silence and avoidance for a sign he was mad or possibly hated him. What did it matter that it wasn't true? Once this thought entered Kenji's mind, it was difficult to get it out. And so he decided to go about it a little differently. One way to get rid of the challenge was to make Kenji say love you before he even noticed anything was happening. Which was easiest done through acts of service, specifically cooking. Of course, there were other, even more efficient means, but those required him to do the opposite of ignoring Kenji, making them useless for now. In the end, he decided to take this not as a challenge, but rather as a test of how well he knew his future husband. But first things first. He checked all his ingredients one by one, making sure he had everything for the recipes he wanted to make and that nothing was expired. After the last food poisoning scare, he became even more careful about what he put on their plates. What he intended to cook wasn't anything difficult, but the meals were among Kenji's favorites. He even bought some fresh fruit to make a dessert for them. If I don't make this work, then I deserve what comes along with the challenge. At least they could get some food out of it, though silent dinner wasn't exactly what he imagined their evening like. Not when they finally had time for themselves after a week of heavy workload. It didn't take long, and the pleasant smell of cooking spread through their house. Aone didn't bother with that much, and focused on the pans and pots in front of him, only to barely stop himself from startling when Kenji appeared next to him. Oh wow, you're going all out tonight, huh? Are we celebrating something, or did you just find some new recipes? When Aone didn't respond, he just smiled and shrugged, standing on his tiptoes to kiss Aone's cheek. Okay, it's a surprise, I get it. I'll prepare the table in the meantime, okay? Should I take out the fancy set since we are having a feast? Nah, let's just eat normally, right? White plates are enough. He gently nudged Aone's side before stepping back to free the space. I love you so much, you know? Especially when you cook. Relieved, Aone cracked a smile, abandoning the cooking for a moment to pull Kenji back by his waist. Because it's good, or because you don't have to cook? Both. We both know you are a much better cook than I am. Saves time and effort, and it's delicious. He smiled softly, the almost dreamy look in his eyes making Aone's heart skip a beat. What's there not to love? Leaning in for a proper kiss, Aone gently squeezed his sides, adding one quick peck on Kenji's lips for a good measure before he turned back to the stove. I love you too. The flat was already strangely silent when he entered. No sounds from the TV, no music playing, or the usual taps of Taichi's footsteps. Nothing. Either he's asleep and forgot to turn on the speaker, or something's not right. Though the first option would also mean something wasn't right, as Taichi never slept in silence when he was home alone. Worried, he headed inside the flat to check what was happening while trying to look inconspicuous to keep up the appearance for the challenge. He didn't want to have anything with it, but it was better to go ahead and not risk Atsumu bothering Taichi with some stupid punishment. But even after checking the whole flat, Taichi was nowhere to be seen. Worry already rising in his chest, he was about to ditch the challenge and call, when the main door opened quietly, the sound followed by direct footsteps. Oh, thank goodness. Maybe I just forgot he had therapy today? It wouldn't be the first time that would happen, as much as he hated it. How could he even call himself Taichi's husband and forget something so important? But the important thing right now was that Taichi was okay, and so Hayato braced himself for the challenge and plopped down on the couch with his phone in hand. Soon the footsteps came closer and then stopped behind him. But despite being merely 2 meters apart, Taichi was still yet to utter a single word. Almost as if he didn't notice Hayato at all until he stopped right next to him. Weird. Then a barely hearable sorry sounded behind him, followed by hushed footsteps heading away and the door closing somewhere behind his back. Tai? He jumped up and rushed after him, a strange sense of dread sinking his stomach. Tai, what's wrong? What happened? He tried the handle of their bedroom, surprised to find the door unlocked. Trying to move as quietly as possible, he stepped inside, his chest constricting when he spotted Taichi sitting on the bed with his hands in his palms, his shoulders shaking with muffled sobs. He crossed the distance in just 2 steps and pulled Taichi under his chin, the way Taichi desperately clung to him as if he was drowning, breaking his heart. Shh, it's okay. Take a deep breath. Just let it out. As if a dam broke, Taichi slumped against him like a rag doll, trembling and crying his eyes out in a way Hayato hadn't seen him yet. He continued to gently stroke his back, his mind racing to think of something to say or do that would ease the pain his beloved was in. Yet he came out empty-handed, forced to just helplessly watch Taichi break down because of something he had no idea about. Please just don't be anything health-related. Please. Chills ran down his spine with that prospect, since Taichi breaking down like this would mean news worse than bad. He quickly shooed that thought away, refusing to even entertain it. Surely it was something else. For sure. Tai, what happened? I want to help you, but I don't know how. Yet Taichi just shook his head and tightened his grip, almost as if he was scared of something. Hayato sighed but let him be, knowing he would do more harm than good if he pressed on. He would learn the truth eventually. Now he just had to make sure Taichi knew he was safe. Lev couldn't really think of a worse challenge than this one in particular for their current situation. Sure, things were somewhat back to normal, but with Yaku stressing more and more with every day his move to Poland got closer, he didn't want to risk upsetting his fiancée with other things. Besides, their time together was precious, and he definitely didn't want to spend it by ignoring Yaku. However, based on the frown settled on Yaku's face ever since he came home, it seemed like their roles might reverse quite fast. Mori? Did something happen? The only answer he got was a quiet growl. Sighing, Lev raised his hands up in defense, confused as to why his fiancée was suddenly acting like an angry dog. I'm sorry, I just asked. Yaku being mad wasn't anything new for him, but the fact was, it's been a while since the last time Yaku got upset over something to this degree. Maybe only back then when some guys at the gym made fun of Lev's height and clumsiness. But this was different, and Lev hated it. Perhaps it was because their time together was limited now, or because he really wanted to help but couldn't because of Yaku's stubbornness to tell him anything. But he found it difficult to settle the surge of defiance bubbling in his chest. You know, people usually communicate in relationships. Makes things much easier. Yaku stopped mid-step and clenched his jaw. They also know when to stay quiet, you know? Then at least tell me you don't want to talk about it. Don't leave me guessing what's going on. Fine, I don't want to talk about it. Content? Trying his hardest to stay calm, Lev pinched the bridge of his nose, reminding himself to not say something reckless again. After all, that was the main reason they were in this situation in the first place. Still, he was ready to voice his displeasure with the situation when he paused. The moment of hesitation gave him time to look at Yaku properly, which is when he realized Yaku wasn't actually mad, rather that the clenched fists and trembling lower lip were telling a completely different story. Are you scared? Yaku froze for a beat and then threw the rest of his stuff into his backpack and pushed around Lev, heading to the main door. No! Yes, you are. What's wrong? Nothing. Leave me alone. How? I can't leave it be when you are clearly hurting from something. Why not? Just ignore me. He no less than ran out of the door and rushed down the stairs. Lev was close on his heels, confused, not describing his feelings in the slightest. Did Yaku know about the challenge and thought it was for real? No, that wasn't right. Then what? Mori, wait! He shivered when the cold air bit into his skin, his heart thumping hard into his ribs as he watched Yaku march to their car. Please! I don't understand what's going on! Yaku stopped, his shoulders visibly shaking even before he turned to face Lev, his face twisted with pain that had no connection to a physical kind as he made a hesitant step back. You aren't supposed to. Just leave it be, okay? I can't. I can't leave it be when something's clearly going on. He risked a step closer, trying to understand the incomprehensible. There had to be something he could do. Something to make Yaku stay and talk it through like they always did in the end. But the longer they stared at each other without a word, the less hope he had. Then Yaku took a shattered breath, and Lev could swear he saw his eyes gloss over. I'm sorry, Lev. Wait. The challenge was a genius idea. He absolutely couldn't understand what problem the others had with it. No one was getting hurt unless there was some pre-existing damage already, and in that case, it wasn't his fault. And yet, everyone in the chat tried to make him feel bad for bringing it up. So ungrateful. Instead of taking it as a chance to strengthen their relationship, they are bitching about it. Unbelievable. He huffed and finished the workout much faster than he probably should, turning his frustration into exercise performance. I'll show you how it's done. You'll strain muscle if you keep going like this. Reminding himself of the challenge, Atsumu didn't react to Sakusa's words and instead headed to refill his water bottle before going home, leaving his boyfriend confused for sure. He didn't look at him though, not even when they packed up and headed home. Knowing Sakusa, it was about to take at most half an hour before he cracked and said the two words. However, against all of his expectations, Sakusa didn't seem particularly concerned about the silence from him and just kept going like he always would, as if nothing was happening. He didn't even ask him if he wanted coffee when they arrived home, all of which prompted Atsumu to ignore him harder. How dare you to ignore me back? I'll show you, just you wait. He used all his past experience of ignoring Osamu and completely cut Sakusa out of his perception, focused only on his stuff and needs. However, the longer he went on and the silence stretched, the more difficult it was to keep up the facade. Does he not care at all or what? What's going on? He was just about to get upset and ask what was wrong, when he felt Sakusa stop behind his back, the sudden increase of tension seeping from him making Atsumu pause. Hey, is everything alright? You've been quiet for a suspiciously long time. I wouldn't mind under normal circumstances, but you seem on edge. Slightly offended that this was the first thing Sakusa mentioned, Atsumu didn't react this time either and elegantly avoided Sakusa's hand. Try harder, Omi. Try harder. Much heavier silence settled in the flat. Did I do something to you? Atsumu almost froze in place, stunned by how weak his boyfriend's voice was. I'm sorry if I did. It wasn't on purpose. So could we just talk about it? Atsumu stayed quiet, unsure what to say or do. Then an almost defeated sigh sounded behind him. I see. I'm sorry. Moving before he could think about it, Atsumu rushed after him and wrapped his arms around Sakusa's waist from behind to stop him. A flashback to a similar situation a few years ago crushing him with guilt. You didn't do anything. Atsumu. I swear you didn't. It's my fault, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take it out on you. Even more guilty for lying to his boyfriend on top of hurting him, he hid his face in Sakusa's back, praying the situation wouldn't repeat itself. He couldn't let Sakusa doubt himself again. It took a while, but eventually the tension left Sakusa's shoulders. He then turned around, returning the hug. Okay. Will you tell me what got you so upset? It's not a big deal. I don't want to worry you with it. Though I guess I kinda did already, huh? A little bit. I'm not going to force you, but if you want to talk, you know you can tell me anything, right? Atsumu bit his lip, feeling like the terrible person people used to see him as years ago. I know. Love you. Yeah, love you too. Want to order something for dinner tonight? Yeah, sure. Sounds good. Anything to pull Sakusa's attention from the challenge. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I have a feeling you are probably a little upset about the YakuLev part, but hey, to be fair, it's the best outcome I could have come up with to tie it into the storyline, so that's a little bit of a spoiler, I guess, but hey, it's the best I could wish for, honestly. And yeah, let me know your guesses on what is going on with Kawagata and with YakuLev too, if you have an idea. I will gladly read it, as always. If you have any requests or ideas, the request form is linked in the video description. See you next time!